In this world, there is nothing that you don't have a competitor. You need to know your game.
What if your first lesson in entrepreneurship came not from a business school, but watching your dad, his sleeves rolled up, building something from nothing? The year was 1970, and the country was Turkey.
I saw him build so many different ideas from scratch.
And what if instead of just admiring this fire he lit, you chose to carry his torch across oceans, across industries, and that torch blazed your own trail? This episode isn't about following a playbook, it's about rewriting one. My guest today is Bashak Ilhan. She grew up in the shadow of creation, the kind that doesn't ask for permission, only possibility. Her father was an entrepreneur in a time and place that made risk feel like rebellion. But he planted something deeper than ambition in her. He planted belief.
It was easy, it wasn't that difficult, but the competition was so high.
And she took that belief, she boarded a plane and began building on new soil with old roots. She didn't climb the corporate ladder, she walked away from it.
I always jump into the new thing. We need to discover, we need to find, we need to get used to it.
She launched her first company in 2010, and like any real founder story, it wasn't a perfectly paced speedway. It wasn't all wins and venture rounds. There were moments where the money was gone, the pressure was crushing, and no one was coming to save her.
I didn't know what to do. I thought that it was done.
But she stayed in the game. She learned, she built, she found a way to build again, she exited and she started again. And today, she's the founder of Road, a company that doesn't just consult, it co-builds. It's an external co-founder model that goes deep where others stay surface.
Business is personal to me. It is. We are all human and we have feelings. Most of the time, we're missing that part.
She's not launching campaigns. She's now using her torch to relight the entrepreneurial spark in others, helping founders find their soul and scale their story. This isn't a conversation about business, about belief, about resilience. It's about a woman who took her father's fire and made it her own and now passes the flame forward. Today, we're going to dive into the friction she faced, the fuel that kept her going, and what she wants the next generation of founders to know, how and where the spark began. Hi, it's Tony Chapman. Thank you for listening to Chatter That Matters, presented by RBC. If you can, please subscribe to the podcast. And ratings and reviews, well, they're always welcome and they're always appreciated. Bashak, welcome to A Chatter That Matters.
Thank you so much, Tony. Thank you for having me.
So I gave a real nod to your dad at the beginning. So maybe you could just take us back to that time where you were watching him as an entrepreneur. And like I think a lot of kids that have parents as entrepreneurs, you saw both fear and fearless, I imagine, in his eyes.
I was surrounded with new ideas and new brands and new companies since when I was 8 or 7. I saw him build so many different ideas from scratch. I never were worried about, not becoming a successful company. He was just following his dreams and he was trying everything. So that's what I learned from him. And he included in the steps with me as well. So when I was 10, I was thinking about a brand name. I was thinking about the pricing strategy and everything. It was awesome.
And what about your mom? Because there's a lot of times with an entrepreneur, you don't necessarily feel security of someone knowing that they're going to get a guaranteed check every week. How was she in terms of supporting these dreams and ambitions?
My father wasn't an entrepreneur. He was like a crazy person with different ideas. My mom wasn't really happy at the beginning. She always wanted him to get the regular corporate job. But along the way, she supported him. I don't think she had another idea, another chance, Tony. She had to.
And when you look at yourself, the sort of DNA that roars between your mom and your dad, how would you best describe your appetite for risk and your appetite for security?
I got that entrepreneurial soul from my father. I got some risk analyzing from my mom. So I have a kind of a balance. I analyze first. That's why I'm a strategist, I believe. I look at the numbers before taking an action, and then I dive in.
And when you think about the lessons in life that you still carry with you, I can think of some that my mom taught me and my dad taught me. Is there any one that stands out that you go, Anytime I'm feeling that I'm standing on shifting sand or I'm feeling insecure, this is something I think about.
It's not easy. And I believe that you need to know what kind of a type of a person in business life. Maybe you're not an entrepreneur and, the entrepreneurship is so fancy and everybody's talking about it. Maybe you will be better in the corporate life, Tony. So you need to know that. I have a very short of corporate life too. I could have fit in and I decided this is it. This is my way. And I know it's not easy. And I am the responsible with everything. And I'm the only one. No one will come and help me. So when you think that way, when you accept it, I think it's a little bit easier.
So what gave you the courage to do it? Because, you're talking earlier about assessing risk before you make the move, but you had a pretty good corporate. You knew you could go places with it, but you decided to jump off and be your own boss at an early age.
Believe me, I tried. I tried to fit in the corporate life. The corporate world felt too slow, and the layer of, acceptance and approval process were killing me. I couldn't fit in. I was the only one in the meeting, at the meeting saying and asking and questioning and, the managers and directors and thinking about out of the box, which they don't want you to do that. They just want you to do the job.
So 2010, your first startup, and it's facing significant challenges. I mean, that was after the big global economic meltdown. And you talked about in one of your interviews that I listened to how dire it was when the money was running out. Take us through that point in your life, because to me, very often is when you are at your worst and you fight your way through is often what you remember the most fondly later in life.
That was really tough. I was lucky though. I got the investment in the beginning from my boss. So it was easy. It wasn't that difficult, but the competition was so high. And I remember one day I went to the office and I had a team of like 50 great people and I couldn't see half of them because my competitor hired them and then they offered tripled of their salaries and they left in a couple of minutes. After that, I just found out in a couple of hours, all my vendors were out of stock because my competitor purchased all the stocks that I was selling as well. That day, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say to my investor. And there was no money, no team, no products to sell in couple of days. I thought that it was done. And I remember one person. I never forget her. That was a home and decoration brand. And I met her home and decoration fair. And she came to me and she said, you know what? I see that passion in your eyes. You're just like me. I was just like you when I was younger. And if something happened bad to you or, struggle so much, call me. I called her and she helped me a lot. She was a vendor and she gave all her product to me for, without me paying first, like a consignment. And I started running my business and I made the competitor out of the business in a couple of months. I didn't give up. I just allowed myself to be sad in a couple of days or hours. And I searched for the different, solutions. And I was lucky to find one.
What advice can you give to people to be open to strangers? I call them Yodas, the fairy godmothers of the world that somehow appear in your life at times, to just be open-minded enough to know that that meeting could change your life one day.
You need to find your hero. And if you're in a business, if you're in a family, if you're an entrepreneur, building a relationship is so important. Because we got into business, we hustle a lot, we're, taking care of the daily tasks and everything, but we have to make connections. Those connections are saving your life, sometimes saving your business, and you don't even know. I try to do the same. If I see someone, I say the same thing to them and I give my, phone number, my contact information. I told him that, you know what, I've been through. If you need anything, I'm here. And I have been mentoring and I'm getting mentorship. I'm meeting people, sharing my ideas, calling them in, the good days and bad days, checking on them is so important. You don't know. For example, for now, we don't know. I may be really helpful for you one day, or you will be helpful for me one day. So this is a great feeling. I'm trying to build it in two ways.
I think today we're so absorbed with our screens and what we believe are connections, but it really is face to face. As you said, somebody saw the passion in your eyes. I can feel the soul in your heart. What advice do you give to young people nowadays to say that life happens beyond the screen? It happens in the real world. It happens in coffee shops, walking through a trade show, talking to somebody about an idea, that it's so important to have that human to human connection.
Business is personal to me. It is. We are all human and we have feelings, and most of the time we're missing that part. When we are having a meeting, either if you're an agency and you're meeting with your new potential client, we just talk about what we do and then how we do it and stuff. But I always try to stop and understand, try to empathize. What are they worried about? What is the fear that they are stopping themselves to move forward? If you think that way, you're starting to building a trust and you are letting them know that you've been through or you understand them very well. As a team, you're starting to create a plan together. And if we are not right people for each other, at the end of the meeting, I say, you know what? This is very important. We met. And now we know each other and what we do. Maybe it's not the time, but you know me. If I can help you with any way, you don't have to work with me.
We're going to talk about Rhodes because I'm fascinated by it, but you've had two very successful e-commerce businesses and exited from both. Just share with the audience a little bit about those businesses and what it meant to start them and what maybe it meant to sell them and move on to another one. Because very often entrepreneurs never want to let go of their baby, but you seem to have found this path that says, once this is done, I need to go somewhere else.
The first one, it was in 2010, home and decoration brand and the e-commerce corporate in Turkey, in Istanbul. And I went to university in London and my first job was in the US, and I went back to Turkey to found that corporate. So there was an opportunity for luxury section, and nobody was selling huge furniture like bedrooms, the living rooms in a luxury segment. And I saw that opportunity, and everybody was thinking that I was like it's too difficult to do it, but I wanted to try. I started building the website. I hired one software developer and I created one of my room to an office, and I was consulting at the same time during the day to make money and then coming back home and creating my dream. That was kind of easy for me to create things because I see it and I know it. But along the way, when I started talking to vendors and I understood that I am nobody to them, it doesn't matter how much money I'm willing to pay to buy the products and sell it, they didn't want to give the product to me. They didn't believe it. And I was like stuck on that process. I was thinking what to do, and I got a call from my previous boss, and she wanted me hire me again for her next job. And I went there, have a coffee with her, and I talked about my project so passionately. And she, at the end of that coffee conversation, she offered me investment, and I got the first investment. I got her name behind my back, and I went back to vendors, and I started that way. I managed that first company for like 4 years. Doing business in Turkey was so difficult. And I realized that I studied abroad. My first job was in the US, and I didn't really know how to deal with it, but I wanted to make it really successful. When I get that point, I knew it, I couldn't carry it more. I sold my share and I moved back to New York. And I co-founded the second one. It was a small version of it. I just sold functional furniture. not like an all home and decoration. And it got so successful in like eight months because I knew it. I was coming from a very tough market, and US market was easier for me. I had a chance to exit again, and I did it.
Did you ever feel that being a woman, either in Turkey or New York, that you had different obstacles or obstacles that were really placed in front of you because the bias was, you're a woman, not a man?
Definitely, especially in Turkey, especially in home and decoration furniture industry, I couldn't get that respect in the beginning. They were like, no, and they didn't want to work with me because I don't know which one was the problem, being a young or being a young woman. And also, you need to build a relationship with founders and the brand owners to deal with that. That's the style in Turkey, a little bit emotional. And as a woman and man, we couldn't do that very well. But if I was a man, I would have like, hey, buddy, do you wanna hang out tonight? And do you wanna drink something? And then I could have built a little bit more deep relationship. I tried to hire right people to do that, but it wasn't enough. So how I deal with that with money, I use the money power to purchase a little bit more to cover that area. And when I moved to US, I never felt that, being a woman entrepreneur was a problem, but not being an American was a problem here.
We tend to close our minds to what we feel are not like-minded. And yet, to me, so much, and Canada, where I'm from, there's so many people that are questioning immigration. And I'm saying, if we let immigrants come here that have fought their way to our country, that have resilience and courage, and open the doors to them and unlock opportunity, it's a gift for both. And that's what I want to talk to you now about Road, because to me, you really are trying to help, almost how that woman helped you. You're trying to help a lot of people succeed. You're trying to help them light that path. So tell me a little bit about how Road came about. And I'd love to just share some stories about why you feel this is your calling.
I found a role on my experience as a founder. Finding a right company, right agency was so difficult. And some of them were doing some job and the other one was doing the other part. And also when you grow, you need to hire a manager to deal with your agencies. One of them is a creative agency. The other one is a digital marketing. The other one is like, running the operation, helping you. So it was so difficult. So I wanted to work international companies to grow in US market, or startups to build something from scratch. As an agency, as a service provider, I wanted to act like their co-founder. I know how to execute. I know what challenge they're gonna, face. And I've been through this, and I can help with my professional team. So that's Road became. And I founded in New York after those two exits. And I have been working with, companies from Europe, Middle East, to help them grow in US market. And I do the opposite. I work with American companies to help them to grow in those areas as well. Because I know how business works. I know how audience purchase products. I am so thrilled. I'm so happy. And we work with our clients for 7 years, 8 years, and they allow me to act like their co-founders too. We talked about everything. If I don't know something, I tell them. I'm not acting like a, cool agency owner. I say, I don't know the way. We haven't done it before, but let me try and let me find it. And I find the solution and we discuss together and I take an action with my team. So it was a perfect business model for my soul. And I love doing it.
You talk about from your soul, but one of the things I loved is a quote you said in an interview that branding is about crafting and keeping clear, compelling promises, and that a business has to have a soul. Talk to me about that. My whole philosophy in life has been head, heart, and hands. If a great brand, I get it. Most importantly, I feel it, and then it's easy for me to buy it because I feel it. So talk to me about your philosophy about soul.
Creating a brand is not finding a name, not even a product or service that you're selling. It is a promise that you're giving to your audience. If you think about the brands that you like, you know what you're going to find there, right? When you go to their shop or online shop, you know H&M, for example. If you want to go to H&M, you know you're going to find the trendy products in a cheaper, version and way. So this is H&M's promise to you. When you're building a brand, you need to think, you need to put your soul in it, and you need to promise your audience, and you need to reflect that to everything, with your name, with your messages, with your color, with your, decoration of your shop and everything. And it is very emotional. If you cannot keep your promises, this means you won't be able to build a correct brand. Empathy, putting your soul, creating your brand DNA to me.
Do you ever get pushback when you're dealing with a male entrepreneur that says, that's all soft and interesting, but let's really focus on how we're going to drive more sales?
I do, but I'm mixed. In the beginning of the process of creating a brand, I'm very, I'm using that female energy and, trying to put the soul and everything. After that phase, I switched to male energy, and I'm just talking about sales and, the profits, how many different marketplaces we can be in. So I'm kind of mixed, and I think that's the right thing to do, because if you're just talking about promises and stuff and not doing anything, or not taking care of the financial part, it will die too. But in the beginning, my message is clear. When you're clear in your mind what you're doing, the other step gets so easy.
Your role, even though you position yourself sort of as a co-founder, it's a role of influence versus authority. The people with authority are the people that founded the company, potentially the investors behind the company. How do you win them over with your ideas and your sense of direction? What's your strategy? Because there's a lot of people out there that are in a position where they really only get to influence an outcome. They don't get to control it.
Idea is important, but it's not the business. So it is a starting point. Execution is so important, and also financial. I think I start with financials. This is the idea. This is the execution plan, but those are the numbers. I always be honest with them, and I say, this is the expecting revenue, but please think 20% less. And this is the plan for, expense. Please think 20% more, because that's the reality. Financially, you need to prove, you need to validate the idea. Otherwise, you're a great genius with great ideas. You don't have an execution plan. You don't have financial to support that. And you are not honest to yourself, and you're not going to honest to your investor or your team or your audience. So
when we return, I picked Bashak's brain about the inclusion of AI in today's world. We also discuss education and where she hopes her sense of soul will spread next. Hi, it's Tony Chapman, host of Chatter That Matters, presented by RBC. RBC provides small business owners with resources that go beyond banking. Resources that help them attract new customers, build strong employee teams, and manage their money. To get access to these services, go to rbc.com/beyondbanking. Small businesses matter to RBC.
Competition is tough in every industry. It's very difficult. If you want to go global, it doesn't matter if you're a European company and want to do business in the US or vice versa. You need to think locally and act globally. That's really tough.
Today, my special guest is Bashak Ilhan, a true entrepreneur with vision, resilience, the ability to dream and do. What she does, she bridges the world between buyers and sellers. Another article that you were in, you mentioned the fact that AI, artificial intelligence, is something we all have to embrace, but at the same time, something that is creating a real concern with you.
It is. And also, I have been doing this business for 25 years. When I started, there wasn't any social media, nothing. And I always jump into the new thing. We need to discover, we need to find, we need to get used to it. if there's something dangerous, we need to keep our companies away from it. AI is a similar thing. At the moment, I'm happy. We're using AI to help us, not switching our employees or not switching our role in the company. It's kind of a smart helper to move a little bit faster, easier. But in the future, I'm worried in some parts because security is so important. We are telling everything. Simply, let me give you an example, ChatGPT. We are asking a lot of questions. We are sharing our personal thoughts. We are sharing our business information to get an idea and everything. If you search for your company on ChatGPT, if you see a lot of internal information, you should know that your employees using ChatGPT to talk about everything internal, with internal secrets. So those things can be a problem in the very near future, business-wise. Personally, the same thing. ChatGPT knows your shortcomings. It knows you better than your mom in a daily life. So if you ask about me, I don't know what kind of information it's going to give you. There is nothing in between right now. Those kind of things are scaring me a little.
5 years from now, what is the road you've traveled?
I grew up in Istanbul and it has a bridge connecting Europe and Asia. And I always feel that it is in my DNA too. I would love to be taking that part in the business life, helping American companies to go abroad, go global, and expand the new, markets. And same thing from Middle East to US. That's my dream because I know a lot of great entrepreneurs, perfect products in India, in Turkey, in Italy, and they don't know their way. So I would love to find them and help them. And same thing here, Middle East growing so fast and they're getting richer and richer in some part of the world. And the US is, we're taking a lot of slow on some businesses. And I would love to help them to use that opportunity too. I would love to be a bridge between those countries.
I have to imagine that you're asked to either be a mentor for a lot of people or speak to a lot of entrepreneurs. So someone listening with a dream or an idea, what's the first step they should be taking to seeing if they're capable of going beyond that dream and actually turning it into reality?
When I talk to entrepreneurs and they have a great idea and they are falling in love with their idea, and the first question I ask them, who's your competitors? And most of them says, I don't have a competitor. That's so dangerous. In this world, there is nothing that you don't have a competitor. Everybody sells everything. Everybody has those services that you think about. So research is first thing, Tony, I believe. You need to research. You need to validate that idea to you. You need to know your game, who you're playing with. Competitors are so important. And then you can ask that question to yourself, why audience will choose your product other than other brands or companies? What do you do better? What problem you're solving better? And the third, don't build a brand or company for yourself. Know your audience like you know your sister. Where do they hang out? How much do they pay for service or products? And what is the frequency? Know them and build something for them. I sold crazy, ugly lightings. So I couldn't believe myself. It was like a pink and diamonds and stuff. And when I saw the product first and I said, oh no, I can't sell this. Who's going to buy pink lighting in the living room? And that was our best seller products for years. And then I learned that I'm not selling it to myself or my friends. I'm selling the audience who's searching for that, and the number is good.
How do you manage work-life balance? Because you strike me as someone that your eyes are continued to shine. You're so excited about Road. You want to build this bridge to the world. How do you manage to do it all?
I finally accepted from my family and friends as I am. So that's the key thing. I'm learning. I'm improving myself. I'm spending so much time to get better in the personal life too. I'm still not the perfect person to talk about it, the life balance, but I think I built a life around business, and my friends are from my business, my colleagues, and my family knows that I love creating brands, and I have a 10 years old, and we talk about, the new stuff. Many, many years ago, it was a problem. My family, my friends, I couldn't do a chit chat, and I was a workaholic. And I took a step back and I said, you know what? You can still keep that personality, but you can improve it a little bit. Now I have hours and I start very early and I finish around 5:30 and 6. And I used to think if I work at night and over the weekend, I was like, I'm on track. I'm doing the right thing. No, I found out that it is a mistake. Now I say to myself, you're missing something.
Your 10-year-old daughter or son?
Son.
Does it bring you back to the dining room table when you were 10 doing brand names for your dad? Is it very similar?
Yes, very similar.
Is your dad still with you?
Yes, he is.
And what does he think about all of this?
It is a great memory for us. And he told me that my father always said that this is the next generation. He's coming up. He's really into it. And then I created a brand for him. We found a product for him. He wants to launch his own online shop. He loves it. So he's just like me.
Your son's getting an education just being at that dinner table. What do we need to do within our school systems to have kids believe that their destiny can be a matter of choice, not chance?
We are raising kids to memorize, not to live. And I don't understand why we are not teaching the problems when we start facing when we get an adult to our kids at school. Eating healthy, growing food, relationship issues, right? We spend a lot of time when we get adult. We don't have any idea being a mother or father or being a wife and husband. Why we are not teaching that at school? I don't get it. Same thing, we can teach our kids to be an entrepreneur or go to corporate life. We can tell them the cons and pros when they're young, and they can try. They have time. They can try to build something. And if they're good at it, they can try more, or corporate life too. I don't understand why our school system anywhere in the world is like that. Why we are not teaching life.
Now, Bashak, I always end my shows with my 3 takeaways. And this one's tough because you've offered so much. But the first one is the entrepreneur that says, I don't have a competitor. And you not only push back, but you personalize it by the sayings. You need to know your consumer like you know your sister. You need to understand how they think, how they feel, how they act. I think it's just a beautiful life lesson for people to go, I have such an idea that nobody's thought about. It's not that you're trying to destroy their dream. You're just trying to make a level of being pragmatic within their dream. The second one is, I always say leaders are head, their heart, their hands. Sometimes they're more than one. There's no question you have the analytics and the sales and the bias reaction, but your heart is magical. And I love what you said, business is personal to me. And you said things like, every brand has to have a soul. And I think that in this world of transactions and putting things up in the cloud and bits and bytes and clicks, we forget that the real power of a great idea is its ability to move and transform others. And the last one, which just came out of literally the final minutes of our conversation, is this whole concept of education. Is why are we teaching people to memorize and not lead? Why are we teaching people to do multiple choice questions versus understand the meaning of life and how to connect and collaborate and create and think? Putting a textbook in front of a kid that's grown up with gamification and a leaderboard and trying to get to the end as fast as they can, and then bringing this linear educational system is torture. It's putting kids in prison, and no wonder many of them deciding to drop out. Powerful advice from you. I can't wait to see the road you're going to travel with Road in the next 5 or 10 years. And I hope that brings you to Canada as well. I know America is important to you, but boy, because Canada ever needs someone like you to help these entrepreneurs find new markets. So if you want to come to Canada, please come up. We've got to bring your husband, your son. We've got a beautiful guest suite. We can spend a weekend. You'll meet my wonderful wife, and we'll talk about how the magic of Bashak Ilhan can also happen in Canada, because I would welcome you with open arms.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would love to do that.
Once again, a special thanks to RBC for supporting Chatter That Matters. It's Tony Chapman. Thanks for listening, and let's chat soon.